Then we're going to share. That's not the share I wanted. Stupid.
Need more sharing.
I know, more sharing, but more precise sharing.
Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone!
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ or lucky track dog league you run, SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate. As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips and tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
There is still no Chris, and there is still no Chrissy, but there is a Tim. Get out, Tim, get out of here. I'm Dazzle. I'm Dazzle. And I just wanted to say hello. If you're going to come to a Lemons race soon, we're going to hang out. It's so much fun. Dazzle, get out of here.
To be clear, talking to Dazzle is optional. You just have to not screw up.
That is true. That is true. More on that to come.
I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers, and welcome to another Pontiac episode of our podcast. It is episode 347. The Pontiac 347 was a variation of their overhead valve 90-degree V8s available in 1957. The 347 was first offered with Tri-Power, which is 3 two-barrel carburetors. I'm sure they were very easy to tune, with sequential linkage replacing the previous dual quad setup, and was good for 290 ponies with 375 foot-pounds of torques. Pretty solid.
It is. Yeah. And yes, it's not, it was the old way measured at the crank, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, man. 1957. That's a lot of oomph.
That's many torques.
Yes.
But many ugga-duggas.
Yes.
Well, mental
virtues. Yes.
What are you working on?
Recovery. In the brief seconds before we started recovering, we both are recording. We were both talking about starting to feel human again. If you guys don't know, we are both back from the 24-hour event, not in France, but in Colorado. So we were there on that one. I drove back. You didn't sleep, I know, for the entirety. And in fact, all of you, Sajeev and Tom stayed up all night, judging all night. That was really impressive.
Sajeev took a nap for a while. He went down. He was hurting.
Okay.
Tom stayed up through the night with me. Took a little crash around, I think it was like 6:30 or 7 in the morning.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was a good crew. It was a good crew.
All right. More on that in a minute. So I'm recovering from that. I drove as far as I could. And then, cause I had the RV with me and, just racked out someplace in Utah, at a truck stop there. But one of my gas stops Sunday on the way home, I gas up, I get everything go, I get something to munch on. I shut the door to the RV and watch my window just slowly drop all the way down. No motor, no nothing, just slides all the way down. I am not about to make the remaining 8 hours of that drive with the window down in the RV. So I go inside, buy some tools, take the door apart, and the little cables that go to the motor have, for reasons I do not know, disconnected themselves. So like any good Lemons Wrangler with a deep Southern heritage, I had to take the door panel off to force the glass back up and then duct tape it in place all the way around and then drive the rest of the way home. So my RV is now rejankifying itself despite my best efforts. This is going to be a battle of janky wills. And in first world problems, with the weather patterns this year, it has been brutally hot, and it has been hotter normally sooner than it normally gets. And we have been fighting yellow algae in our pool. So now we are moving to a new treatment, which is keeping me out of it for 2 days. Then as soon as we're done here, I got to go vacuum it, and then we got to pull our filters out and hose all those out and try it again. So, just, oh, my pool is so hard to maintain. I get it. Yeah, I know. But there's still work that's going into it.
It sounds gross. Oh, I can't
It's-
imagine what the pools at the casino must be like. Those things are enormous.
Well, they also they've got like super pumps, and they keep everything nice and cold. And, there's so much chlorine, you go underwater and your eyes get instantly red. And we try to maintain a good, proper balance that, will not bake your eyeballs or bleach out your bathing suit.
That's fair.
There's two of us, and, tend not to pee in it nearly as much as you would get from drunken frat boys at a
The Hard
Vegas
Rock.
casino pool. Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, when you were telling the story about your window and taking the door card off, and my head immediately went to, oh, did he prop the window up with the window squeegee from the thing? Like, I thought for sure you would have stolen the window squeegee out of the thing and shoved it up there.
That would have been better. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, duct tape wins.
I try not to steal those things because I need them so much. Every time, like running around here, I never clean my windows, but every time I drive to Sonoma, Thunderhill, Button Willow, High Plains Raceway, anytime I come out of the valley, whatever I'm driving gets covered in bugs.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
How about you? What are you working on?
Like I said, I'm finally caught back up on sleep. So it was I'll get into the details, but the quick summary was I was up for 46 hours and slept maybe 4 during that 46 hours. And that was on airplanes, so not really good.
Not really good sleep.
Yeah.
I wasn't
But,
quite that hardcore. I drove all night to get to the track and then stayed up all day, but I did rack out that night. I racked out Friday night. And then I think I grabbed like a 2-hour nap Sunday morning, like about 9 or 10.
Much needed. Yeah,
Yeah.
much needed. Well, sadly, I when I got home, it took a while to catch up on sleep because my dog had poopy butt. So she was waking me up every 2.5 hours at the door in the middle of the night to go outside. So that was really awesome.
I am convinced that if anyone could like make the alarm clock for dog people, the sound of every dog has that one very specific, you've got about 30 seconds bark, kind of, sound, to let you know that
Yep.
you're going to be cleaning something up if you're not up in a couple of seconds, or the sound of a cat hacking up a hairball.
Mm-hmm.
You could
Or dog starting to vomit.
Yes, because they always build up to it.
Instantly your eyeballs are like this big. You're like, where's the dog? Where's the dog?
Yeah, because you don't want to take that first step in the dark because it's out there somewhere.
Yep, for sure. But then I've also been helping my brother-in-law. He's got a camp up here in Maine that he's getting ready to sell. So we've been doing the things that were on his to-do list that he never got to, like de-jankify the giant staircase down to the camp. So it doesn't go like this when you walk on it, like a rope bridge.
The Indiana Jones bridge where they trap him at the end of
it was so sketchy. There is one, he's got a camera there, and he's got one camera. His couple, they park in the driveway and they look down the stairs and they talk for a couple of minutes and they don't even go down to look at the house. They just get back in their cars and leave. I was like, we need to fix that.
Crap. Now I got to fix it.
We need to fix that. So we're changing. It's like I said, it's a true camp. So like incinerator toilet and like all of the things. So they pull water from the lake. So we're getting all of that stuff dialed in and ready for sale. So that's been fun, but it was 94 degrees today. And, it's not a Vegas 94. It's a New England 94.
Yeah. Miserable, sweaty, slice you off a piece of air.
Yep. Yep. So we wrapped the day up with getting his party boat out onto the water, and we did a quick lap around the lake, and then came in for some pizza. So that was the good wrap for the day.
All right, there you go. All right. It's always good, end up in the water. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shall we move on to news and notes?
News and notes.
There we go. Dazzle should introduce news and notes.
I think you're right. What do you think, Dazzle? Are you ready? You up for it? Oh, come on. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Yeah, I'm up for it. News and notes.
Our new friend, James Gilboy, tells us that the famous Suzuki Cappuccino is coming back, sort of. The article over at the Drive tells us it's a joint Suzuki, Toyota, and Daihatsu project. Now, it's going to plump up the previous K car, but it is still going to be a small engine turbo. Rumored to be a direct competitor to the Miata, the SF-R project is expected to have a downsized 1.3 liter version of the GR Corolla's turbocharged 3. This should be good for about 150 horsepower and 160 foot-pounds, which isn't much because the Miata is already at 200, but should be compared, even with the same size, should be a lot faster in a lightweight car. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, the U.S. is only going to get the Toyota version of it and is going to have an expected show time of 2027, which is right about the same time the next generation Miata, which is rumored to be hybrid, is coming out. So they may out Miata the Miata. I don't know. I love me some Miata. Everyone knows of my fondness for mine, but there was a failed business here that brought in a bunch of Honda Beats and Suzuki Cappuccinos and tried to sell them in a used car market. And you still see them show up in a couple of buy here, pay here lots. And those little tiny Suzuki Cappuccinos are interesting. They've got the 3 different tops and everything on there. And I know everyone else likes the Honda Beat, but yeah, I'm a Suzuki Cappuccino kind of guy.
Have we had one in lemons?
Oh God, no. Those are, itty bitty. We haven't had a Honda Beat either.
Have to get
or an Auto Zam. You probably have to get a waiver.
Pass. You have to get a pass on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you put like training wheels on it, maybe they'd give you a pass.
Well, no, this isn't the Samurai. The Cappuccino is a little tiny, it's a sports car. So 2-door front engine, rear wheel drive, and the Honda Beat was a mid-engined. It was like a NSX that somebody washed in hot water.
Aren't they really short wheelbase? Both of them?
Very, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my point. Yeah.
And also how effective would it be? Because you're effectively going to double the weight by putting a roll cage in it. But
yeah. It'd be amazing to see somebody like Corey Dickman put a Corey Dickman sized roll cage in that thing and then flog it around the track.
Yes, absolutely.
I would love that.
We'll put that in his queue of IOE winning cars that he's going to build.
Yeah, just all you got to do is find one and just ship it to his driveway, and he'll curse at you for a week, and then he'll put a cage in it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, faced with the dropping EV demand, Ford's ambitious select EV dealership network has been mothballed. Woo!
Yeah.
Chris Traig at The Truth About Cars has the story. Last year, we talked about Ford creating a specialized EV network, and they are now allowing all Ford dealers to sell and, more importantly, service electric models. While many dealers have already made the required investments, which makes this move seem like a raw deal for them, but Ford execs believe they will have a competitive advantage, saying that the charging infrastructure will drive traffic and revenue. Link is in the show notes.
Sounds like a load of crap to me. Hey, sorry
Yeah.
you guys invested in this thing, but well, it'll be fine.
It's going to be better. No, really. Like, our first idea was okay, but this was going to be way better.
So much way better. Yeah, you're fine. You're totally fine.
Yeah. Great. Speaking of super cheaty.
And Miatas.
Speaking of dealerships being super cheaty. And Miatas, you had me at super cheaty. If you are looking to get a Lemons car, here is a deal for you. We've got a super cheaty Lemons car. It's an NA model, $5,000 with Mega Squirt and make 150 horsepower on the dyno. Team Safety Third is selling their Miata. So go out. Miata is always the answer. I know they're boring, but they just work.
I'm not convinced this one's super cheaty. I would say it's like cheaty-ish.
Yeah, well,
Because that's still the 1.8 liter in there.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. But so you're probably gonna get B.
Oh, you're
Like, if
definitely going
it's
to get beat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks like that picture was taken at Button Willow. I am 90%
Why? Because there's
certain.
nothing but dust floating around.
Exactly. Those trees and then the garages over here. So I'm pretty sure that car was at the butt. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's is honestly, that's just for $5,000. You've got a running, competitive, fun race car.
Turnkey.
Mhm.
Get in, have fun, go fast.
Yeah.
And
You're going into Class A. Suck that part
Yeah.
up. But who cares?
Yeah.
They've
Yeah,
even
it's
got
awesome.
they've got video of it driving on the track.
You know
Nice.
how we know they spent the extra money? Because look at all the pictures. Look at the video.
Exactly. There 24 pictures on this thing. They're obviously interested in selling it.
Yeah,
Clearly.
just spend the money for the VIP deal.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you got to use the code POD23.
So for $5,000, you're getting those coating, 15-inch wheels, adjustable shocks, iBox springs on purchase, 25 millimeter giant radiator up front. The cage is $1,200. Well, the cage is $1,200 13 years ago when I bought one to put in. They've got
Right.
the tall driver mod, so they lowered the floor. Yeah, this is great. They got a stainless steel exhaust, violently expensive wheels. That's an interesting and accurate statement. Been sitting in my garage for 2 years, needs to be brought back to life and raced. Ran lemons twice, and it was, quote, awesome. It's in LA. There's going to be a link in our show notes. This is a great find. Well done, Tim. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And I tell you what, you show up with this one, especially if you're a new team, we probably won't give you penalty laps if it's me and Tim. I cannot vouch for anyone else.
Bring a theme. It's fine.
You do need to bring a theme. If you're going to bring
Bring a
something
theme.
like that, don't go weak sauce on any of that.
Yep.
All right. So speaking of themes and great times, we've got no upcoming races, but we do have recent results.
We do. We do. So Lemons had the true 24 while some fake 24 was playing in the background.
Yes.
And we were at High Plains Raceway. It was my first time at High Plains, and what a cool place. Glenn, the owner, was
Right.
awesome, or
Yes.
manager, maybe owner manager, I'm not sure, but he was great. His staff was fantastic.
You could always tell when they love having lemons there.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. 100%. It was really, really cool.
But having been to a lot of tracks, because I've had this argument with people, and some say that some say CMP is the most out of middle of nowhere track, and I'm trying to think of other people. There are people that argue Button Willow is more middle of nowhere. I say High Plains is 20 minutes from the middle of nowhere.
Yes. I mean, if you were going to try to drive out into like the middle of the country and get lost where no one would find you, like that would be the direction I would go. You just go out 70 and then you go out this country bumpkin road, turn left at a shady motel and just keep going and see what happens. And then all of a sudden you see this racetrack and what it's right next to the road too, which was trippy. So when I was sitting in the judging area, which is you've got main straight, hot pit, little pavilion where the judges are, and on the other side of the main straight you've got the second straight as you come out of turn 3, and right next to that is the highway. So I was standing there when I first got there.
And when he says highway, he means 2-lane numbered state road.
Yeah, numbered state road, speed limit of 900. So I'm there and I'm watching, I'm looking around and get my bearings. I'd just gotten there, and And I see a race car go by this way. I see a race car go by that way. And then I see a camper go by. And I was like, what is going on? I didn't realize that the road was right there because it's so close. I mean, it's almost the same distance as that far straightaway. So it kept tripping me out. I look up and a big Winnebago go by. It's like, well, I got to get used to this. That's very strange.
And if you're not expecting it when you're racing and you see headlights on the wrong side of you, yeah, it'll fiddle with you, especially when it's been a really long day.
Yep. Well, the results we've got in the I don't care category are Class A winners. So fast in their boring BMW 1996 318 from Meade, Colorado. The B winners were the Fruit Loops, also in a boring BMW, but a pretty good theme, so we'll give them a little bit of credit for that. We did have to yell at them for speeding in the paddock. Don't speed in the paddock.
Seriously.
From Castle Rock, Colorado. Our C winners in a 91 Subaru Legacy that was just but terrible from Colorado Springs, the Giant A-holes. Those guys were great. We didn't see them much in penalty. They just went round and round, and they were absolutely awesome.
If I'm not mistaken, that's a right-hand drive one because it's the postal contractor version.
I believe you are correct.
Yes.
I believe you are correct.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one. It's got 8 gajillion miles on it.
Yeah. It's, I mean, janky is a compliment.
Good team. Great team, though.
Yeah, great team. Judge's choice went to Arc Flash in their 277 2000 Ford Focus from Frederick, Colorado. These guys, if you didn't see anything on this, they wired up the entire car according to building code. So they had literal switches and conduit running everywhere with junction boxes. They had like a big soda light over the top of the car.
And the theme was those creepy fish that live in the bottom of the ocean that have the dangling thing to get, somebody to come over so they can eat it. Yep, I didn't realize they'd done it to building code. That is fantastic.
Hysterical. And you know what? Guess, shocker, guess what they struggled with? Electrical problems. But the guys were awesome. They spent more time helping other teams fix their broken stuff than they did themselves. There was a team running a Maxima they were leading by 10 laps.
Yeah, 176. The dogs.
Yeah. And they're with I think it was 2 hours left in the race. The panhard bar broke in their Maxima, so they came in. They put it together with what looked like a curtain rod that they swore was like chromoly tubing, and it was strong. And they made another one, and they were trying to get it back together. And the guy from Arc Flash came over and helped kind of tack weld some things in place to make it work. And they threw it back up, and they looked at it, and they said, "What do you think, judges?" And I was like, go really slow for a lap and just check and make sure everything's good. Right. So spoiler alert, they finished the race. They don't win. I think they lost by 2 laps because they had to dial it back so far. And as they came back into the paddock at the end, when everyone's clapping, we took a peek underneath the car, and that thing was gone. So I'm guessing it must have been a handful to drive.
Oh, yeah. That team, I remember those guys at NOLA 4 years ago. It was one of the first races I ever judged. And they were arguing to be in B, but the car is it's an A. Well, it's a B car. It's an A team because they're quick.
Yes.
They've really developed as drivers. They've gotten on there, but I think when they were winning, they had the 17th fastest lap. But they were just out there turning laps, running clean.
I think they can run for 3 hours too in that car.
and they have really developed it. But they raise money for a dog rescue, and I remember as they were arguing with me about why they should be in whatever class, and I didn't want to give it to them. One of their adoptable dogs comes over and lays on my feet. I'm like, oh, and he looks up at me with those big pathetic eyes. I'm like, fine, you guys can be whatever class you want. Yeah. So we were pulling for them. That was a good team.
Yeah, they're great.
All right. But
They're
anyway,
great.
so yes, back to the Arc Flash. Yes.
Helped tons of teams. They were fantastic, really fantastic. Org Choice went to We Could Never Racing in the 1987 BMW truck car, which means basically they cut the back half of their car off to make it look like a truck.
Which is how you make any boring car not boring.
Yep.
El Camino it every time.
They put a giant wing on it that had the rigidity of a sheet of paper. And it was pretty terrible. I was like, this thing's still on, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it's still on.
Non-functional, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's active arrow. It actively changes in mid-corner. Heroic Fix went to Seat of Your Pants Racing in a 2000 Volkswagen Jetta. Now, we had a bunch of broken crap at this race, but these guys did it the right way. They started out, they got about 2 hours into the race, and their power steering pump went out, and it blew one of the hoses off and ripped the end of it off. There are no hoses or flaps anywhere for that part to go and get a hose, or junkyards or anything else anywhere near. Rewind back to in the middle of nowhere earlier in our discussion. So they made do. What did they use? A piece of garden hose. So they cut that up and they put extra zip ties and duct tape and hose clamps on that thing, and they send it back out. And 2 hours later, guess what happened? Not the power steering issue.
Oh, there you go.
The knuckle broke, and it took the hub out, which is a new hub they just had bearing pressed into on the right side of their car. So they hobble it back together. They take their old part, put that back in the car, send it back out. 2 hours later, guess what fails? The left knuckle and the left hub.
Oh, brutal.
That garden hose was hanging in there, baby. It was hanging in there. So they take, once again, their old part and they put it back on and they send it back out. Like 4 hours later, guess what fails?
Engine.
The front axle. It falls out of the car. So they got that back together. They fixed all of their junk. They took checkers. We didn't see them in penalty at all. They were great. Heroic Fix. Well done. Very poorly done.
That is awesome. I'd give that one a well done. Yes, legit. Okay.
Yeah. The I Got Screwed went to Dad Bod Car Mod in their 2007 Toyota Yaris.
I saw that one come in on the flatbed on practice day with some serious front end damage.
Yep. They had some issues. They had some issues with the front end. They got it back together. It was mostly cosmetic, thank goodness, because that's a tight package. But they checkmated themselves pretty good. So they, because you need a big brake kit in a Toyota Yaris, decided to swap out the rear drums for some made in Malaysia rear disc brakes, which were a mismatch of Nissan and everything else parts. And so they said, well, we're gonna put a proportioning valve in just to make sure we can really get this thing finely tuned. So
as you do with a Yaris.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to make sure that you've got maximum stopping power in this 4 horsepower Yaris. So first driver goes out. He comes in and he just loops it and spins it. And he's like, oh man, he goes, the back end just locked up on me. And he goes, the car just snap oversteered and I don't know what happened. So he goes out and he comes back in. Car comes back in like an hour later, and it's another driver in their car, and he loops it in the same corner. And he's like, "Yeah, I was trying to get the brake bias dialed in," and he goes, I think I must have overdone it, and the rear's locked up, and they spun out. He goes out 2 laps later, he spins it again, and so then they go out and they're futzing with it. They're futzing with it. I said, look, the rear's locking up. Like, go park it. Go figure out what's going on, right? You guys, you can't keep the back end of the car on the back end of the car. So right after the 8-hour mark, actually, it was right before the 8-hour mark because they got their third black flag. Another guy went in and he twists that proportionate valve, and the car locks up, and he loops it and comes in, and he goes, I got to tell you, he goes, I think we're turning the knob the wrong way. I think I've got it figured out. So it came in the box with stickers, with arrows, and guess what wasn't on the proportioning valve? The knob, the stickers. Yeah, great. So we gave them the draw Daffy Duck with duct tape penalty, which they did a fantastic job. Look at the Lemons site for some of the photos on that. Like, well done to those guys. So they are like, all right, well, we're gonna just try to dial all of the bias out of the rear, whatever we can do. And I was like, I got an idea, guys. Why don't you not use the brakes? Like, just drive around slower and not use the brakes. So they were like, we're going to do that. So they went out. They drove around for like 5-6 hours. No issues. And then their engine blew. And that was that. They got screwed.
That's pretty screwed.
Very screwed.
Oh, that's impressive.
Good stuff. The regional award went to Savage Orchid Racing in their 2002 Ford Escort. They were awesome. They
always are. They did that Ferrari theme a couple of years ago. Last year it was the McDonald's, and all weekend they kept walking around asking people if they were loving it. They had grimace shakes. That is a hard charging, hard theming team.
So good. They brought 2 cars. Their number 4 Ford Escort was in the Pokemon theme, and they made up special Pokemon cards for all of the judges, for Glenn, for a couple of the other staff members. It was
Kim
really,
had one. Kim had a Pokemon card. Yeah,
yep,
that was
yep.
fantastic.
It was really, really well done, and they were on point with the theme. They came in hard on Tech Day, and they started out drivers meeting all themed up, but they had a lot of mechanical problems, and I think that probably kept them out of getting HMG because they just had to spend more time fixing and less time theming. So still very well done, Savage Orchid. We talked about Arctic Flash earlier, and now we're going to talk about the IOE, which is Arctic Blast. It's their other car, which is a 1976 Datsun 620.
I remember seeing this car.
EV.
Yes, I saw it a couple years ago because they gutted it and turned it into an EV. Yeah.
Yes. So they have an EV, and guess what would be the worst case scenario if you're about to endurance race in EV for 24 hours?
So, spoiler alert, listener, I know the answer to this question because I was also there on, what was it, Saturday morning, like early in the morning. It's a beautiful day. It actually wasn't that hot, blue skies, everything. The power flickers a little bit at the track. Now, because Glenn and his team are all fantastic, they've got most of everything out there is capable of being run on generator or solar power. And what had happened is the town of Briars had lost their transformer. So the entire county is without electricity, which is really no big deal at the track, except for two things. One, the gas pumps didn't work because those are electrical. And then they ended up not working all weekend because the internet company was saying that, oh, it's all fine, which it clearly wasn't fine. Something got scrambled. The other thing was the high voltage charging that you need for, like, I don't know, an EV battery.
So
Oh,
these
it was
these
like circumstances against you before the flag even drops. It was just brutal.
it was so brutal. So they ended up having to try to charge the car with a generator, and then they didn't know how charged the batteries were, so they like were trying to guess on pit stops, and it took them a while to kind of get back into the rhythm. The power went back on about 2 hours into the race, so there was only a temporary blip for those guys, but um, they turned 701 miles with an EV truck during this race, which just blows away the previous record. The Chevy Bolt had 500 and change, I think.
Mhm.
It just blows away that effort. So
This
really, really well done.
this EV race is starting to heat up. You had the RX-8 down in New Orleans, but they didn't prep very well. And I remember talking to Randy Popes about that. And he's like, yeah, they were convinced it was going to last 90 minutes. And I got in it and it lasted 20 minutes. And then their batteries weren't charged because they thought they'd have plenty of time. And the Bolt, the Bolt is admittedly, they're just out there doing the proof of concept. So they drive it down to the Walmart, which is a few miles down the road. But the nearest Walmart to the track in High Plains Raceway is 50 miles. I don't know how far it was, the charging station, and it's not street legal anyway. So yeah, you've got to have and they had their pit stop strategy figured out. Do you remember how much those batteries weighed?
I don't know. They had a giant cart
Yes.
that was hydraulic that would lift up and slide the new battery in. Like they weren't manhandling it. They were using leverage and all sorts of extra things to get it in and out. And they had I think it was their first pit stop during the race. I walk over and I wanted to see how they were doing it because there's special rules for them. We have an area coned off just for the EV. They have to be hooked up to a vehicle, an emergency vehicle, in case the thing catches on fire. And we all know how EV batteries go. If they catch on fire, they would immediately just drag them away and dump them off into the middle of the woods. And so I was watching this, and one of the bolts that hold down the battery pack was not coming out, and they are cranking on this thing and cranking on this thing, and they finally got it out, but it was a struggle for them. So something happened, it got stripped, or it went in cross threaded, and they were struggling with that. So it took them a while to do a battery swap. It took them a while, but hats off to those guys. Very, very well done. 701 miles. Awesome.
I remember seeing them on track, and they did a great job. It just, they were predictable. They stayed out of the way. Yeah, they were better than some of the faster cars about staying out of the way. And I thought this was really cool. Did Pagel ask, or did you guys suggest, or conglomeration? But Pagel presented that IOE, which he said in the presentation he had never presented an IOE.
Yeah,
but his nerd was all tingly on that one.
Yeah, he asked Tom Webb if he was like, I know these guys, and I helped work through some details with him. I'd really love to do that. So he was all geeked up about doing it, which was cool.
That is cool. That is awesome. All right.
We had a special award, which was a trophy that a team gave to us, which was very cool. Metal Lemons logo with a bent coil spring welded to it, and we gave it to a team that they were just really nice guys, but they just did so much wiener stepping. Like, I'll put it this way. They got their first black flag in the first 20 minutes of the race, and they got their fourth black flag. This was after their third black flag, where it's like a 30-minute penalty. They got their fourth black flag 2 hours and 7 minutes after the green flag dropped, which has to be a record.
You've only got 21 hours and 53 minutes left. You'll be fine.
It's fine, but they were great. We had them do multiple penalties. They were the KVWN Ron Burgundy San Diego news team, and so we had them do a rehearsal of a recital of one of the scenes from that, and then one of the guys spun out and then drove around the track with his number on the board for many laps, and actually he didn't spin out. He passed under yellow, and then he drove around with his number on the board for many laps. So he was their fourth penalty. So I had him draw a track map on the hood of the car, and then draw a big Ron Burgundy mustache where each one of the flag stands were on the track map, just so a little reminder that to look for them next time he got in the car. And then they did great. They were invisible all through the night, for the rest of the day, all through the night, and long into the morning on Sunday, to the point where I pulled them up on Race Monitor, and I was like, are these guys turning laps? And yeah, they weren't off the track at all. They were going round and round and round. They had totally turned it around. And we started talking about it. The judges were like, these guys like talk about a maximum effort. And just when we thought they were going to just escape by with an hour left, somebody looped it and came into the penalty box. And Dazzle had to have a chat with him about how disappointed we all were. Impressed with him for going so well, and then disappointed. But they were awesome guys, all rookie team, fantastic, and we hope to see them in another race. And then the pinnacle of all of the awards, the Halloween meets gasoline. It goes to the 1985 Chevrolet Corvette.
Technically a Pontiac Grand Canadian, but yes.
And from Salty Thunder Racing, they leaned into the Daft Punk theme. It was awesome. I mean, all of the sequence and the glittery helmets and the glow in the dark sign and the music, the boombox with the lights and we're up all night to get janky, and like it was so good. We got a video from Love's gas station where they're fueling up. One guy's standing in the bed of the truck, helmet, sequence. Another guy's pumping gas into the truck, fully still in theme. And I was like, how did nobody call the police on these guys? Like, remember,
it's Colorado. It was one of the first states to legalize weed.
Nowhere, Colorado. Yeah, like wow. But really, really well done. And one of my favorite parts was we had a team that was speeding in the paddock in the dark. So we had the two Daft Punk guys with their boombox bop along, dance down the paddock at 5 miles an hour, and had them follow them all the way back out to the track so they could understand what not speeding in the paddock felt like. So thank you for that, Salty Thunder Racing. Very, very well done.
That was and we'll talk more about that in a minute, but that's a theme that he'd been wanting to do for a while. Neil Losi was on that parade of like, you're speeding in the dark. They said they kind of knew they were getting through to him when they looked behind him and the driver in that speeding car's head was kind of bobbing to the music. So
yeah, sometimes you need to hit him with a really big hammer.
There you go. All right. Now, not nearly as awesome, but still pretty cool. Champ Car had the Joliet Grand Prix at Autobahn Country Club on Saturday. TR Motorsports and a boring 93 BMW won by 6 laps, and they would win Sunday by 7 laps. That was their Class A. B was there's no Z in Miata, 1 lap on Saturday, 8 laps on Sunday. C on Saturday was Two Brothers Racing in an '08 350Z by a lap. And on Sunday, that became Premium Dudes and another boring BMW. And that was by 2 laps.
Well, then Lucky Dog had their 7th annual Ron Cortez Memorial Race at Sonoma Raceway. Class
Yeah.
A on Saturday was U-Boot Renin Works by 1:12. B was Jam Motorsports by 6 laps. And C was Warhammer by 7 laps.
Now on Sunday, Finally Racing took A by 26 seconds. That must have been a good race. Their Lucky Dog B was Triple Four Racing by 6 laps, and C was Formula None by 2 laps. And of course, we have to throw some F's in chat for our buddy Corey, who was up there with Ranwood Parked and the GMW, but his engine ventilated on Saturday on that event. They finished 73rd, and of course, they were listed under the did not start on Sundays. Womp, womp.
Womp, womp. They would have finished lower than that too, but they had a red flag and Ron was in the car and he parked on the timing loop and got like 12 extra laps while they were so
Well done. Nice.
good on you. Good on you,
Yes.
Ron, and shame on you, Lucky Dog, for not catching that.
Oh. Now,
Oh yeah, Corey's engine was a spectacular failure. He sent pictures of so many broken things, many broken things.
yeah, he got a hold of me. He's like, "Hey, so have you done anything with the Omega?" I'm like, "Just tell me when. We'll pull it, and it's yours." He's like, "All right, I'm trying to figure out one that's closer than 10 hours away, but yeah, I don't know if you can
Poor
trust
guy.
it as much as an engine you built, Corey." So,
Right, totally.
we did get some listener feedback.
Listener
Yeah.
feedback time!
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I should have realized Dazzle was going to say that.
On the tubes, Carlman257 said, "Hey y'all, just checking in. We had a great time hanging out with everybody in New Jersey. We finished 25th overall with the 85th fastest lap. 2 stops on Saturday, 1 stop on Sunday with only 2 drivers. Snapped our throttle cable, but got it fixed in 40 minutes on day 1, second in C. P1 at Thompson, we have the pace as long as we don't wiener stomp. Well done."
Yeah. And Thompson's one of those tracks. Absolutely. You could do it with that kind of legs because you don't start till noon. But wiener stomping is also a very real thing at Thompson because they throw a bonfire party Saturday night. So,
Go to the bonfire party.
Absolutely. Then go get some ice cream, then go to the bonfire party.
Yes.
All right. Our buddy, It's Probably Fine, of course, in all caps said, "Everyone knows that Mental hit the record button last week, but the government is shadow banning Eric Rude from podcasts to keep American public safe about learning about hippos as a food source," which is a bit of insider baseball and a brilliant theme. That was
Oh, very
Oh.
good.
Now, she may not be listening this week, but you know who would never use hippos as a food source?
Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Hello, Chrissy's mom. Although I would once be like, "Hey, would you like some of Chrissy's mom's hippo steaks?" I don't know. Maybe they'd be good.
Hippo cake.
Hippo cake, yes. If it's hippo steaks, it'd have to be you. You'd have to be the one making hippo steaks for everybody.
Smoked hippo. This is delicious. What is it? It's hippopotamus.
I feel like about at least half, if not closer to 2/3 of the people be like, "All right, give me another one."
Totally.
Oh,
That guy was a jerk anyway. I hope you killed him and cooked him up.
all right. So obviously our main topic, it's the HPR hangover. How was your weekend, Tim?
I gotta say, I'm not sure I want to race a 24, but I will definitely go and judge another 24. It was super fun. It was not on my to-do list this year, Eric Rude called me up. He had a judge drop out late and said, "Hey, I'm really in need of somebody. Can you do it?" And I was like, kind of. I can't be there until Saturday. Amy was traveling, and so I was on dog duty. She got home Friday night late, and then I got up at 2:30 in the morning on Saturday, drove to Boston Airport, got on a 6:45 a.m. flight to Denver, jumped in my rental car, drove to the track, and got there about 10:45, and then stayed up through the night. Um, Finished up awards, went back to one of the fellow staff members' hotel, took a shower, jumped on a 4 o'clock flight to fly home, and was in my bed by 12:30 in the evening, or in the morning, I guess. So just a little over 46 hours. And I slept on the plane for maybe 3.5 of that. So it was lighting the candle with a blowtorch, but it was super fun. Super, super, super fun.
I had
Mental, how was yours?
uh, exhausting. I had a problem with my RV that I was trying to get solved, and I didn't get it solved Wednesday night. And I'm like, all right, screw it. I'll just come home from work tomorrow. This will take me 45 minutes. So I get home from work Thursday, 2 hours later. This is not going to be resolved in 45 minutes. So I stopped doing what I was trying to do and put everything to the side, and then just loaded up the RV. So I got on the road 3 hours later than I wanted to. So I left here about 8:30 this time, and 12-ish hours to get to Colorado, not counting the fuel stops because I took the RV naturally on that one. Got there Friday. We did some setup. Of course, we had tech and theming and everything that goes along with that. And then everybody wanted to start doing some practice times on that one. And I was just a little too wired, but I did late Friday night. Yeah. Went to sleep, and for reasons that just happen to you when you're at a certain age, if you're a little kind of geeked or amped about something, woke up 5 a.m. So I was up 5 a.m. Saturday, and there I would stay until 9 a.m. Sunday. And then I got just like a quick power nap in when the day shift took over on the car. And then, yeah, popped in the RV, drove till about midnight, and said, nope, this is, as someone said, when you're driving and you take that really long blink, yeah, it's time. So
Time to pull over.
time to
Yep.
pull over.
Yep.
Yeah, got home here a little bit about lunch. And it wasn't so much that I was sleepy. I was just spent. Yeah. Wife and I went out to lunch, having, slipped away for the weekend. So just, I had taken Monday off, and then I just came and I sat on the couch and just stared into space, until it was time for bed. And then finally got like a decent night's sleep, and, went to work the next day. Yeah. Which is
So
always,
tell me about.
the
Go
hangover.
ahead.
You always have that
Yeah.
lemons race hangover, because you go into
Yep.
work and everything's just it's a few shades chromatic. It's quiet, it's slow. Yeah.
Depressing.
It's not depressing. I like my job, and I like who I work with. It's just, it it's like, having a really good steak and then going to like Orion Steakhouse. You're like, I mean, it's meat. It's not good.
It's steakish.
It's steakish. Yeah. Yeah. Till your palate readjusts.
Yeah. So tell me about Friday. I love, when I'm judging, I love Friday. I love Tech Day. It's so fun.
Yes.
And I was really bummed that I couldn't see it. So tell me
It
and
was,
the listener
it's a,
what was out there.
right. Well, and there's some difference of opinions on this, but I like the way HPR runs their days. Now, you can buy a half practice day, or you can buy like the whole thing, or you can buy like two halves, but they also invite everybody. It's not just a lemons practice day. And I always find the people that show up in their C7 Corvettes or Porsches or BMWs to be amazingly foolish or trusting, because Pittsburgh does the same thing. Like, you'll see these amazing race cars out there. They seemed absolutely unfazed that there is a 72 AMC Hornet, running around out there. So it is always interesting on that one. And then what's even more interesting is when you see like the Mustang GT or the hopped up Mustang GT being overtaken by
Pikachu.
There you go, by Pikachu or something. It wasn't there this year because they had a nasty wreck a few years ago, but the 300 horsepower Chevette, turbo Chevette, that thing's amazing. So, but Colorado, and especially at a 24-hour event, and you saw this from the other side, there was no shortage of good themes. And this is before everyone's tired and exhausted or having a wrench on their cars. So they are fresh, they are aggressive, and the line was backed all the way up past the covered garages because people were ready to show off their themes. Of course, you had Savage Orchid. They never bring it weak. Yes, we'd been planning the Daft Junk theme for quite some time, and Jeff had been keeping that one in the back pocket until he brought the right team, because you can't have a theme like that and do it weak. So he had to have the right group there. Neil, Ben, the two Bens, Nick, him, his son. It was fantastic. So, we got into that one pretty hard. Some of the other, great themes. There was his name's slipping off my plate, but he normally runs Texas, and they showed up with what looked like a cheaty as hell BMW that turned out to actually be a legitimate just piece of crap, hail damaged, automatic, bone stock, off lease BMW. That
number 11. Yeah,
yes,
it was all white and like M striped out. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't M straight out. It was one of those great subtle themes. It was the fuel company that was in the Deep Horizon knockoff movie with Mark Wahlberg. In Twister, when the gas tanker gets spun up, that's the same petroleum company as this non-existent joke petroleum company, because all of those guys are in oil and gas. So they found this, the non-existent petroleum company that was in all these movies and made it their sponsor. And that was the race colors on that one. So just, 9 ever so subtle jokes on that. Fomoco was out there with the Pac-Man. And he was telling me, as they were setting up their camp, the guys that had parked next to him at the last event out at High Plains looked at him and took a deep breath and said, "Are you going to be playing that Pac-Man song all weekend? Because we want to pit next to you. We like you. But if you're playing that song, we're going to go someplace else." So, yeah. They were there. You had the luchadores with, they always bring like 50 people. Breaking Bad was there with all of their insanity. You had the Star Wars TIE Fighter Integras, just rolling through the paddock, and lots of really, really great stuff. And it was delightful to look up the row of cars and just see everybody, theming in costume. I believe the team that won was the Kenny Angry G BMW. But there was, and they were having their issues. But that was the Angry Kenny G, and they always have a just slightly disturbing theme. A few years ago, they were the bloody koalas, and they had this inflatable koala costume with this really, really nice girl in there. And she had an Australian accent. And she's like, "Hello, I'm a koala." But her claws were covered in blood, just going to maim you a little bit, and just Angry Kenny G, you're a little worried, but not that worried. It's Kenny G. So there were just good themes all the way around on that one. And everyone was in good spirits. But what was also interesting is I think almost everyone knew what they were in for. And Friday by 9:00, it was quiet. On an 8-hour race, Friday night's always good, and then Saturday night's insanity. This one, no, everyone was saving it up because they knew they were fixing to have to take 2 trips around the clock on that one. So,
Smart.
Just you know, people walk around, they're saying hi, they're being nice, but you know, not as much drinking as you might see on a Friday night.
The X Drive BMW you were talking about, the number 11
Yes.
car with the Phantom Petroleum Company. It's ironic that that was their theme because Sunday morning, I believe it was, we had 7 cars in a row come in that had spun out in turn 11. And that car was sitting on the side of the road in turn 12 because the entire oil pan exploded off of the car and they oiled down turn 11. And so hats off to the driver that had enough wits about him, even after 20 hours of racing, to hear something explode and pull off the track and not oil the whole track down. So good on them for that. But when they got to their paddock, they put it on a flatbed and they dragged it in, and they backed the car off of the flatbed, and we looked down, and there's maybe a half an ounce of oil on the bottom of the flatbed, and we're like, where'd all the oil go?
So it's in the turn. Yeah.
yeah, like it was all gone, gone, and like the oil pan was just missing. So huge failure.
I'd seen some pictures of that one. Yeah, ruthless. All right.
Yep.
So Saturday you got there just in time.
I got there, yep, just in time to try to get my bearings and understand where everything was. Had driver's meeting, which was super cool, very, very cozy in the little pavilion there.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to say, it's first time working with both Tom and Sajeev, and those guys are just aces. Super, super fun time working with them. They were great. Just
and
great.
they're low key awesome.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And we had a lot of fun. We fed off each other. We were talking about different penalties that we were going to do. And, you know, it's fun to think outside of the box and not just, you know, there's great penalties in the bin that you can pull from. But we tried to kind of be a little bit creative and if not come up with a new one, do a twist on an old one.
And you live streamed. The penalty box was live all weekend. That was fantastic.
Yes.
I'd walked by the camera and waved at it, and about an hour later, I get a text from Zach of Vannenball fame of the video of me walking past the penalty box.
So good. Yeah, Tom had it up there. We actually kept forgetting that it was there. So at one point towards the end of the race, me, Tom, and Sajeev sit down and we start talking. We're making our list, right, of who's in the running for what, and we're having all this discussion. and one of the other staff members goes, "Hey, just a heads up, you're on the live stream right now." And we were like, "Oh." Luckily, there were only 2 people watching at that time, and both of them were staff members, so it was fine.
That's hilarious.
Mental note for next time.
Yeah. So Saturday was not as nice. It got to be ruthlessly hot.
Yeah, very hot.
We sent the Grand Canadian out there, and we've done the math. We know that if we can keep the car at about 2-minute, 20-second laps, it's very competitive and it's very good. And that's right about where we want to use up all our consumables and we can keep it going. We put James Gilboy in first, and he's out there for about an hour and it stalls on him and it doesn't want to start. We had problems with the starter heat soaking. That's a spoiler alert, by the way, for the checker flag. And we'll come back to that one. But the oil pressure was fine, but the oil temp was a little bit alarming. And so we ended up pulling the car off the track, and we had to get trailered in, and we went from 10th down to like 40th on that one. And so I don't want to say we stopped trying at that one, but we stopped trying for a podium, but we wanted to keep the car on the track as much as possible. And it would be interesting because we had a few issues. think the math told us all told we were off track for about 3 hours for non-scheduled stuff. And we had dropped all the way into the 50s out of 70 something cars. And by Sunday, we finished 18th. So we lost 8 places over the course of 24 hours on that one. But that was our Saturday. We got the car back out there with an oil change, thicker oil, so that we could keep the pressure up and the temperatures down. And we were doing fairly well. But during the day on Saturday, 2 of our drivers, one literally pulled something like in his sternum or something, and he said, "I can't get back in the car. I broke myself." And another one was suffering from a combination of altitude sickness and probably some heat related dehydration. So suddenly our very full drivers roster got down to a very, very minimum. And we started rotating through the 3 drivers, and we knew that wasn't sustainable. But that was our Saturday, and we came up with a solution to get us through the night, but that's coming up. So Tim, how was your Saturday?
Well, before that, let's talk about how much oil is in that car of yours that you
So
were driving.
unbeknownst to me, I would have never guessed this. Even with an oil cooler, a LT1 de-stroked to 5 liters, 5 quarts of oil. My Miata uses 5 quarts of oil. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I was
That is
stunned.
not a lot. It's
No.
not a lot.
Not a lot
Yeah.
at all. Yeah.
It's gonna
yeah.
warm up quick. It's gonna warm up
Yeah.
quick. Yeah.
And it was, it was high 80s, but it was a mean high 80s.
It
Yeah.
was a mean high 80s. Yeah. Yeah. So my Saturday was good. It was busy in the beginning of the day. We had a lot of folks run through penalty. It was never backed up though. We had a nice constant flow of people coming in, and Dazzle made his appearance, and I've got to say, it's amazing what you can get away with when you talk through the filter of a hand puppet. Like it's pretty fun. Like all the things that you have to normally bite your lip on, you just let it out. You just let it go, and people just laugh. I mean, it was really good. It was really really good. So Sajeev, when I first pulled it out, he was like, "How has nobody done that yet? Like that is amazing." So I think he might be. I might be talking out of school here, but I think he might be hiring somebody to make him a very special hand puppet for the future. And if you know what Sajeev is into, that'll give you a clue as to what that puppet.
I hope
might
its
be.
elbows are out. I hope its elbows out. There we go.
So it should be pretty fun. But yeah, we had, as I said earlier, we had some teams that visit us a lot really quickly. So we got to dive right into the third penalty tricks, in the first 2 hours of the race, which normally takes 5 or 6 hours. So that was fun, but good crew, a couple of new lemon staffers that I hadn't met, a lot of new teams that I haven't seen, from Texas and the Denver area that just don't make the California races or the East Coast races. So it was nice to meet some new folks. A lot of fun. I would say the worst part about the 24 is, if anyone knows me, like I love Friday night and Saturday night, right? And if you're gonna do a bribe, this is a public safety announcement here. If you're gonna do a bribe to the judges for a 24-hour race, don't give them booze, because they can't use it or drink it or bring it with them on the airplane. So be more creative, bring something else.
But I feel like you're going to end up with some of this booze, because it ended up in my RV, and now I got to bring it to Button Willow.
Yeah. If you have a friend with a vehicle there, then it works out totally different. It was like anything that wasn't beer went into a box and went in Mental's RV. So, but yeah, Saturday was fun. It was hot, and my first time judging was at Sonoma, so I thought it'd be really cool to line my judge's robe with it's like a multicolored leopard print inner liner, and it was hard to find good fabric. Corey found some really good fabric for his, but I couldn't really find any fabric. But what I did find was a polyester tablecloth. So I sewed that into my robe, and at Sonoma, it worked great in
Because it
keeping me
was
nice and
cold.
warm.
Oh, I
But
didn't even think
wasn't
about
so
that. You must have been
wasn't
miserable.
so good. Yeah, it wasn't so good at HPR. I was taking that thing off whenever I could. So
We're gonna have to figure
um,
out a way to like put fans in our judges' robe, especially for like the hot races, Button Willow, Thunderhill, all of that.
yeah,
Yeah. Me,
yeah,
you, Jim,
for
Corey.
sure.
We'll get it knocked out.
We'll figure it. We'll figure out a high performance fabric we can put in there, because that was
Yes.
not it. Yeah, that was stain proof, but not sweat proof. So that was Saturday. It was super fun. Got a bunch of people through there, and then we started to get into nighttime, and that's when everyone was like, from you'll be really busy from like 10 to 1. It'll get really busy in the penalty box, and it wasn't. It was we had the only things we really had to deal with were some light issues. One of the big things was you had to go through tech for your lights, so we had to re-tech some people for your lights. Don't buy LED spotlights if you're going to do a 24.
No, no.
But nothing smaller than or bigger than like 4-inch LED strips
And
if you're
this
going to
is
do LED.
so if you've never done a 24-hour race, listener, or a nighttime race, now there are those people out there that say the more light, the better. But the problem with that is what starts coming through rear view mirrors, and it is very dazzling. And for the last 24-hour race, Bob wrote a set of rules, duplicatable, enforceable, and measurable. And so they use the light meter, and then they've got a light bar. And you don't want light over a certain height. And because it blinds the people in front of you, you can't dim side view mirrors. So if you are considering a 24-hour race and you're already investing in 37 LED bars, no. Your stock headlights, believe it or not, your stock headlights are very good. And if you're worried about that, get a pair of very small, low, cross phased apex lights. But you don't need all that. You don't need to illuminate 40 yards down there. And the thing about it, and this is how Jeff gets around it on the Corvette, he uses yellow lights because that doesn't blind people in their mirrors. And it's great vision. I never felt like I couldn't see anything on that one.
Yeah. I would say the stock headlights are the way to go, with the exception of some lights poking out to the sides for apexes when you're doing turns.
And I still maintain the smart way to go on the apexes is to don't even poke them out the sides, is cross them. So your right side is pointed at your left apex and your left side is pointed at your right apexes.
Yep. Because it doesn't need to go behind you. It doesn't need to go behind you. So really good. Numbers. Lighting your numbers, we had some challenges. As a reminder, your numbers need to also be on your kill switch. So any lights that you have need to go through your kill switch, because if your lights are on while you're fueling and there are fumes and you spark, and then there are flames, and then there are hospital bills. So very, very serious. Make sure that any lights are wired to the kill switch, unless it is a self-contained light. That was the only time I saw that Pagel gave somebody a pass. They literally took, those little magnetic lights that like flip lights like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So it's got like a magnet on the bottom.
USB powered. Yep.
You open them up. Yeah, little USB power. So one of the guys had that duct taped to his hood to just wash light over his numbers on his hood, so he could leave that on all the time. Which I was like, that's a really cool idea. And I said, what happens if the battery dies? He goes, I tape another one on. So they're like $25. So that was a cool way to do it. The other one that I saw that was really neat was, I guess you can get them. They're like more arts and crafts things. So it's a sheet that's probably I don't know, 16 by 20, and
Mhm.
it is what I would consider, if you've ever had to trace something, it's like a backlit piece of plastic.
Yes,
So you
and
could put
you
like a paper
use
on it, you trace it,
yeah.
you know.
It's just
So people,
it's like an illuminated square.
yeah, exactly. And there's a ruler down the top and the bottom because people use them for crafts, right? Well, what I saw multiple teams do is they would cut vinyl and then slap their numbers, their vinyl numbers on that, and then illuminate the whole square. And it made it super easy to see the numbers.
Yeah.
With one caveat, all of them have a Chinesium plug that goes into that. And that's where all the fail points were. So it was in that plug. So I would say figure out a way to hardwire that in or reinforce that plug that goes into that light. The best ones were the ones that had them inside the car, facing out of the window as opposed to on the car, because when you make contact with another car, then your numbers rip off and then you got to figure it out. So the side windows were a really good way to do
Smart. Very smart. All right.
it. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and that leads us into the overnight. And as I mentioned, in the overnight, we were already down 2 drivers, and we've got one driver who he just knows 2 o'clock in the morning. That's my cutoff. I'm useless until 6 a.m. And he goes to bed. So we were down to 3 drivers, and I had to make a decision about who I am, and I am nothing if not a team player. So about 11 o'clock, knowing this was going to be a problem, I started the arduous process of converting my crew only wristband to a driver's wristband. And at 2 a.m., I got approval. So I bought my weekend license, and at 4 a.m. strapped into the Corvette. And I don't remember the last time I was so scared getting into a car. You know, I'm
I
just
want to
in
hear.
my,
I've been dying to hear this story. I haven't heard this story yet.
you know, and I fought it. I didn't want to do it, but I knew we were going to end up chewing up our night drivers, and then we were going to be in a worse situation in the morning. And you know, we had Neil, we had Ben, we had Nick, and they're all fast, they're all safe, and they're all good. But I had to keep them because I mean, this is 4 a.m. We still got 8 more hours of racing. Where our fuel stops are about 90 minutes before we start to fuel starve. So we're having to hack through this. So special thanks to Rich. There is a process for this, and it has to go through several managers, and it's easy to do in a regular race. But on a 24-hour race, like everything else, it requires a little bit more finagling. But so I got the 3 managers to sign off on it. I paid the money, and Rich handed me a yellow wristband. And who was working the tippy tap, because he was the one that did my gear tech. Yeah, because I had to get my helmet inspected, and I pulled my helmet kit out to give to another one of the drivers. So I had to get a helmet kit and throw it in there, and I strapped in at 4 o'clock in the morning. And if you've been keeping up with this one, I've had a challenging season where I wrecked one car twice at Barber, and then wrecked another car at Mid Ohio. Not my fault, but looking back on it, I could have avoided it. And then, you know, yay, the highlight video. If you haven't seen the highlight video from Pit Race, they've got my accident in the highlight reel. Which I had not seen. So I got a hold of John, and he actually sent me a copy of the entire video. So I am having some hardcore PTSD. It's 4 a.m. I haven't seen this track in a year, and I haven't driven this car in a year. All through my head, just don't wreck the car. Just don't wreck the car. Just don't wreck the car. Don't wreck the car. Don't wreck your friend's car. Don't wreck your friend's car again. Don't wreck another friend's car. Don't wreck another friend's car. And I'm coming through there, and I would calm myself down. I would settle in. I would have a nice lap. We were targeting 220s, and I could usually get it in there without traffic. There were some yellow flags. And then I would have a lap, and I would look down. They had a predictive timer, and I was hitting my marks right where I wanted to be. And I could do that for 2 laps, and the back of my brain would go, "You're missing something. You're missing something. Someone's sneaking up behind you. You're going to wreck the car. You're going to wreck the car." And I would break myself back out for a lap. And so it was it was literally a battle of in my head, you said you weren't even going to race and you can't even get that done right. You're still going to screw this up. So I'm just, yelling at myself, and myself is yelling back at me to, do what I needed to do. But I got the car. I did 90 minutes without incident. I kept the car on the track. I think I cut one person off, and I waved at him. I think they saw it coming. So on that one, but I got the car without incident. So now I'm still sticking to I don't want to get back into an endurance car until I have some answers. I'm waiting for some blood work and some things to come back and a plan of action on that one. But getting out of it, I feel a lot more positive. Like if it comes down to, this is one of those things where I'm not going to be able to do this a lot, or I'm going to have to cut down, or I'm going to have to make some serious cutbacks. At least I know right now, if for no other pure stubbornness and power of will, I can still strap into a car, do what I got to do, and keep the car on the track, which I needed to know that. I needed to know it in my heart, and I needed to know it in my head. The simpler version is Jeff said, yeah, you know what? Get your mojo back. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And
I was super proud of you, man. I really was. I was like, mental is jumping into the fire in the most difficult circumstance possible, right?
which,
Like
which just seems to
it's
be how I do crap.
how can I multiply the difficulty level? let's get in
Oh,
at 4 a.m. How's that sound?
exactly.
But
So yeah, strapped in, did it. And that was it was a good extension. It got everybody kind of back on there. And then our one driver, he'd been drinking water, getting sleep, getting rested. They were able to get back into the car, and we got it back out in the morning. And jumping ahead a little bit, but the last 30 minutes, the places were set. We weren't going to catch the car ahead of us. The car behind us wasn't going to catch it. So they let me jump in and take the last 30 minutes and take the checker. And it was still kind of for God's sakes, do not wreck the car now. If you were going to wreck your friend's car, you needed to wreck it at 4 this morning. Do not wreck your friend's car on the last 30 minutes of the lap. Just for God's sakes, don't. And every now and again, get a little bit of red misty and I can run that car. No, I'm not going to run that car down. I'm not going to run. I'm just going to drive the track, man. Just drive the track, finish the race. So
I think there's a lesson. I think there's a lesson in that though, buddy. There's a lesson in that. Like that's not a bad way to go about every stint.
it is. It's one of the things. And I've already made some diet and lifestyle changes. I haven't drank for 2 weeks now. When I saw the neurologist, every condition they listed is exacerbated by alcohol. So, I remember thinking about this on the drive up there. What do I like better, drinking or racing? I'd rather be racing.
Easy button. Yep, for sure.
So
For sure.
we'll see how this goes. And when I got home Monday, wife and I went to one of our favorite places here in town, and we're having nachos. And man, I wanted a beer with those nachos, but I'm trying to stick with, even though I said I wasn't going to drive and I end up driving, I'm trying to stick with this until we figure out what's going on that one. So yes, so that was my Saturday night. You were yelling at people with your that one made, I believe it made one of the Lemon social medias, is Dazzle telling someone to turn their damn lights on and not die.
Guy comes in, was once again another, the flag stand comes in, they can't see the numbers on car, blah blah blah. So they come in and I look, and the guy's got his headlights on and none of his numbers are on, and I said, I see he's got LEDs too. And I said, are all your lights on? And he goes, oh no. And he flips the switch in the car, and then the LEDs come on and all the numbers on the side of the car all come on. And then Dazzle came out and berated him. And he's like, you're driving around in the dark. Why are you driving around in the dark? Turn your damn lights on. So it was great. And if you look at the video and you look just at the driver, he's literally just chuckling to himself. And that was my favorite part about Dazzle, is you could just, people would just embrace how dumb this all is. And it's just right there in your face. So good.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It was great. All right.
But
So
yeah, it was
Sunday highlights, anything, sun comes up, people get dumber, better, safer, carnage, less carnage, more carnage.
less carnage. It got really quiet. I would say I was um, in a spot probably at like 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning where there were just nobody coming into penalty. And I'm like, I'm starting to get tired in with it. Like no one's gonna be here. I might just take a nap. Like this is boring. So we started doing that. And of course then two cars come in with contact and you had to talk to them and talk them through it. But I was impressed with how well all the teams and the drivers like just kept it together. Like everyone was pretty lucid, and I didn't really have to pull anybody out of the car because I thought they were overtired or anything like that. I did have to
That's a
pull,
big one.
yeah, yeah, I did have to pull one guy out of the car. It was probably about 10 o'clock on Sunday. Um, if you if this ever happens to you, don't do what this guy did. So I will not use his name, although I know it and I will always remember you. Um, but he comes in after going four off in turn three and then spinning in turn five and then proceeds to drive around for two more laps while they show his number on the board before he comes in for penalty.
It's you,
So
home slice.
he comes in and I was like, well, this is going to be an interesting conversation. So I said, hey, what's your name? And he tells me his name. And I said, so why do you think you're here? And he goes, well, he goes, I went four off and turned three, I think it was. And I was like, and bingo, that's number one. And what else? Why else do you think you're in here? He goes, well, I spun out and turned five. And I was like, he's 2 for 2. And I said, and what should you have done then? He goes, well, I probably should have come in. I said, but what did you do? And he goes, well, I stayed out there. He says, yes. And then you missed your number for 2 laps. So we're going to get you out of the car now. Why don't you park that over here and call your team over? And and so his team shows up, and I said, all right, the car isn't parked, but he is. One of you guys go suit up and get this thing out of here. But he and I are going to have a little fun. So I had him go up. We had a podium there that somebody apparently had borrowed.
Is he the first? Oh, that was, it was a
somewhere.
bribe. Somebody brought you a bribe of a podium. That was great. I saw the tail end of this. I did not know the story. This is great.
So he was a little grumpy when he came in, and especially when I told him that I was making him get out of the car. So I says, you know what? I said, I think I need you to go to the podium and do a reading from the book of Grumpy Monkey. And for those of you that don't know, Grumpy Monkey is a kid's book that somebody else gave to us as a bribe. So I had him stand at the podium and do a reading from the book of Grumpy Monkey with Dazzle as he was the narrator, and then Dazzle was Jim, the grumpy monkey. So anytime Jim had a part, he had to talk like Dazzle with the hand puppet. And I had him read the entire book, and 2 of his teammates were there with their phones, videotaping it with tears running down their face as he goes on for 4 minutes and reads this entire kid's book. And he was a great sport about it. He chuckled through the whole thing at the end, and it was super fun. So, I think it's, if you go off once, okay, it happens. If you go off twice,
but you still have to come in. If you go off, you still have to come in.
Just come in. Just come in. Just
Oh.
come in. It's fine. So
All right.
yeah, it's when you ignore it, that's when we start to have fun with you.
So,
but Sunday overall was pretty quiet from the judges' perspective.
oh, good. So as mentioned, I'm in there for the last 30 minutes. I managed to once again not hit anybody, not wad up the car. This car has actually performed admirable. We found out we were running a 14 AFR. So we had gas fumes in the cockpit the entire time. It was getting terrible gas mileage and probably contributed to a couple of our drivers' illness. We found this out afterwards. We pulled the data on that one. So this, again, Jeff puts a lot of work. He loves his LT motors. He is one of the GM whisperers, and that's how he makes Fieros win. So his car has still got something left in it. And of course, everyone's exhausted, and it's always like, why do I do these? We're never doing one of these again. And on the drive home, everyone starts having the conversations about, what if we did this? Ooh, what if we made this theme? So that's how these races always end up. It's like a marathon, or you've done Ironman or any of those high, ultra marathoners. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done. So for the next one, we're going to do it like this.
I was looking at the schedule.
I was looking at this guy. So the checker comes out. We all bring it in. I'm there. You slap hands with the judges as they come in, which I'm so happy. There was a period when they stopped doing that. I'm so happy to see that back. The judges all come out. And I think that reflects, it's a reflection of who they've got judging these days. You've got Tom and Sajeev and you and Eric and folks who take this seriously. So, and right as I slap somebody's hand, I managed to stall the Corvette right there as you exit the track, and the starter is heat soaked and will not turn over. And so the staff initially starts to push, and then the rest of the Salty Thunder team comes out, and they end up having to push the car all the way back to the paddock because we couldn't even bump it off. It had given its all, and it was tired and ready for a nap.
Yeah. Yeah. Even the car was like, this was a bad idea.
I'm tired. I'm
tired. Can I go to bed now?
Yeah. Put me in the damn trailer.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Yeah.
So, you've already said it's something you would definitely do again. Would you drive one?
I would not go and do a 24-hour race without a minimum of 6 drivers.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You have to have that.
It
You have to
would
have a day crew. You got to have a night
minimum.
crew. Yeah.
Minimum. I would probably want 8. If I had 8 buddies that I wanted to go racing with, I would say I would probably go and do one. I would love to do something closer to my house. I actually looked at the 25 hours of Thunder Hill, and it's not on the calendar this year for those of you that haven't.
They've canceled it this year to try and refocus it, because now it used to be a big tune-up event for a lot of IMSA teams, and now they canceled it this year. They're gonna look at it. They want to bring it back and have it kind of be the premier amateur event.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they roll it back out for 25. But I can see myself doing that one because, when you think about driving all the way to Denver from California and then going through all of those shenanigans and then having to drive all the way back, like that is a big undertaking. So if there was one in California, it's probably more likely. Now, would I fly in and do an arrive and drive? 100%.
So you'll do a 24. You just don't want to tow 3 states over for a 24.
Yeah.
All right, now that tracks. Because I'm hearing rumors that Buttonwillow wants us to come out and do a 24.
That would be great.
And horrible. How much dirt do you think we would chew? Like physically inject?
I mean, every car would be brown by the end of the day on Sunday.
It would be awesome. Yeah. That would be awesome. All right.
So good.
All right, folks, now it's time for, and it's not going to be nearly as awesome, but I promise you, Chris and Chrissy are coming back soon. But it is time for no, hold on. No, we have a much better. Here we go.
Just the
It's summertime. We've talked about dehydration. We've got another summer temp. And this was something that was brought up at the drivers meeting at High Plains Raceway. It is sunny. So let's talk about sun safety. Now, I've got the kind of complexion. I get away with being in the sun a lot. But we've both have friends who are, if they look at a picture of the sun, they are sunburned. And this is a real problem. I've had two friends actually get skin cancer. They're both fine, but it's a game you don't want to play. So think about this. And you want to limit your time in the sun, particularly between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And that's when the rays are the most intense. If you find yourself in the mountains, folks are taking trips to the Rockies, or I've got friends who are actually out here in Utah and Las Vegas, and they're going on hiking trips and all that kind of stuff. It's not a joke. You're 2,000 feet to 5,000 feet closer to the sun. So it is going to have a stronger impact on you. So you're going to want to wear clothing. It's your conventional wisdom is wear short sleeves, but if you're going to be in the sun, you want something with a long sleeve, any skin that you can cover exposure to the sun, pants, sunglasses, those big floppy hats, cowboy hats, all of those things. You want to do that. They make sun protective clothing. You want to use a broad spectrum sunscreen with an SPF of at least 15 or higher regularly as directed, even when it's cloudy, because the UV rays are still coming through those clouds. And you apply that liberally to all of your uncovered skin, especially your nose, ears, neck, hands, feet. And yes, you want some of that on your lips and the top of your ears. If you ever had your ears sunburned, it's miserable because you can't really touch anything. You're going to want to reapply that sunscreen every 2 hours, more if you're sweating, say like at a car race. An average sized person needs at least 1 ounce of sunscreen, and in a measure that you can understand, that's a shot glass of sunscreen to cover your entire body. And if you are follically challenged, you're going to want to apply sunscreen liberally to the top of your head and or wear a hat. Now, no sunscreen completely blocks all UV radiation, so your other protections are going to be needed, and that it does include the clothing, the sunglasses, and getting in the shade as much as possible. You don't want to get yourself sun poisoning. You don't want the peely, flaky skin, because then that gets all inside your driver's suit, and plus it's just a miserable thing to do. And it will over time start to threaten your health and can eventually cause something worse than a sunburn. So look after yourself, use a sunscreen, stay out of the sun, take care of yourself, and we will see you at the next race. Tim, do we have any idea what we're talking about next week?
No idea.
Okay.
But it's gonna be amazing, whatever it is.
Absolutely, it's going to be amazing. And we've got a race coming up this weekend, not a Lemons race, but you need to join our F1 Fantasy League. Get yourself a piece of that. All right, the directions are in our show notes, and we'll see if this is going to work. I feel like, no, I don't know. All right, here we go. All right, can you hear that, Tim?
No.
Crud. All right,
no.
Never mind. Okay, so that is
just read it.
I know,
go for it.
It's not going to work. I was trying to do the music. I had a speaker in here. Hey, thanks everybody for downloading it. Hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers, and we hope that you can join us in the world of driving and racing and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you've enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then head over to iTunes. Give us that 5-star rating. It's been over a year since we've had a 5-star rating, and it actually came from Tim. That was our last one. Tim gave us our last 5-star rating. And he didn't hate us. And if you hate us, you could give us 5 stars and then tell us why we suck. If you've got any questions, comments, show ideas, drop us a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers. Email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. I got another picture of somebody's junk this week. It was fantastic. You can do that. You can text me at 484-243-0455. We're on the Instagram at everyone.racers. We're on YouTube. We're on the Facebooks under Everyone Racers, and even Reddit at /E1R. So thank you for listening, and keep that shiny side up and turn your lights on, because nobody wants you driving around in the dark. Don't drive
around in the dark.
There
and
you
make
go.
sure you keep your shiny side up, unless there is no shiny side, then keep the wheels down.